Hello, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Kingdom Chiefs cast, live from the Wolf Den. I'm Chris.
And I'm Josh, and this week we're going to be talking about a great football game that happened this last weekend and preview an even more awesome one that we have coming up this weekend. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we are, as always, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth lighting, and coordination services. Visit them at CompleteWeDo.com.
All right, we're going to talk some Kansas City Chiefs.
All right,
let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So you were at our watch party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I was there.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was I was on a resort in the Yucatan Peninsula, aka Mexico. So I got to meet some people from around the Kansas City area that just happened to be down at the sports bar at the same time as me. So didn't have the regular crowd, but I think it was definitely raucous. How was the crowd back up in Milwaukee?
Oh, it was good. It was good, but you could hear a pin drop there for a moment.
Yeah, that's the same experience we had, and for what I heard, that was the same experience at Arrowhead.
Yeah, no, my stomach was in my throat there for
Yeah, so let's break that game down quarter by quarter. I'm gonna pull up the box score just in case we need to reference anything specifically, but keys to victory last week. I remember talking about that, and for me, I remember talking about the just clinical nature of that last game against the Raiders, and there just needed to be more of that. So let's talk the first quarter. I thought that's what that looked like. They came out, the defense got the quick 3 and out, and Patrick Mahomes took everything the defense would give him and more, only having 1 third down in that first touchdown drive. They didn't have a third down until 5 minutes into that game, 5.5 minutes into that game.
So was that the 3rd and 6 they had? I think
that was the third and
close.
6. Yeah. But that was one of the things that I sat down and looked for. And I sat there and I had a note. I always put a OneNote page up on my phone to go through any games. So I have talking points for all of this stuff and any of the writing we do. And the first thing I was looking for was third downs and how efficient the offense was going to be and how just effective in taking what the defense gave him and stuff. So that impressed me to not see that until then. Was there anything else on that first drive that jumped out at you?
No, I mean, they look like they were well set up for, what they've been doing all season, just being highly efficient. And Pat looked like he was really dialed in. He always looks dialed in though whenever I watch him, but he looked like he was going to have a big day after that first drive.
Yeah, for sure. So then after that, the Jags got the ball back. They had a short field because if it's not one thing, it's another with special teams. The kicking game was on point. I think that's something that we have to point out. Bucker had 3 for 3 on extra points. He was 2 field goals of 50 yards apiece. I think every single one of them went dead center down the middle of the upright. So whatever was going on between him and Winchester and Townsend throughout most of the season, let's be honest, on the kicking game, whatever it was, it got fixed before this last Saturday.
I don't think there was anything to fix. I think Bucker's been hurt for most of the year.
Sure. Sure.
I just still don't believe he's fully healthy, but I think he's probably learning more and more how to adapt to, if it's still his foot acting up on him, and he's been on the injured list a few times with back spasms. So I know he's been dealing with a lot this year.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think we'll ever completely know. I know that's definitely a very, very likely theory. I don't know. I can't sit there and completely write off what Colquitt was saying, just saying some of that stuff looked off. But at the same time, maybe there are adjustments not being made just based on what you're saying. And, this could be like the what's the saying, when you're going through something crazy that doesn't make sense, eliminate all the things that it can't be, and whatever's left, no matter how crazy or obvious it can be, that's got to be what it is. So I mean, I think there's definitely a strong case to what you're saying, that there just really never was anything wrong other than health, and he's gotten it and figured it out. I also just believe that the kicking game, more than any other part of that sport, is just based on focus and rhythm, and whatever it is,
Yeah.
he sure had it on Saturday.
And it's highly mental too. I mean,
Yeah.
Brett Maher can talk to that.
Oh God,
But
yeah,
yeah,
pressing four.
jeez, that poor
Yeah,
guy. He's first extra point he tried,
yeah.
it got blocked.
Well,
Even if it hadn't gotten blocked, it was definitely not on track.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, and then the other thing, that I was saying about special teams, just finally get to the point that I was saying. I mean, they had a short field. They had 39 yards to
Mhm.
go for a touchdown. So I don't even necessarily fault the D for giving that up, because the one thing that jumped out at me is that one 19-yard run was the only real chunk play in there. And if that ETN run happens back on the Jacksonville half of the field and not the Kansas City half of the field, they still have a chance to, keep him out of the end zone. Who knows? I mean, there wasn't anything about that drive that made me think that Jacksonville was scoring a touchdown no matter what. So, all things considered, I was happy with what the defense did in the first half. So you mentioned the pin drop, which was in the middle of a drive, and I was
Mhm.
putting together my column earlier today, and I started going through the plays, and I couldn't remember exactly what play it was that hit happened, and I looked, and it was in the middle of the field goal drive, so the second Chiefs drive,
Mhm.
fourth drive of the game, and Mahomes finished that drive out.
He
And
did.
again,
Yep.
I was watching this game, so I knew all of this stuff, but it was still one of those things that I had to sit there and look. And I'm like, okay, so hold on, when do all these Henny plays start happening? And it didn't happen. And the whole thing, I mean, time didn't really go for me at the same rate, because I just remember seeing him get up and grab his ankle. You heard what the announcers had to say. It was a really loud place, so we didn't hear, a whole lot of stuff. And you know, then next thing you see him slamming his coat down and going to the locker room, and it's just like, oh God, this is bad. The defense forced another punt, but then they go on the 2-yard line. And what were your thoughts when you saw a 98-yard field and Chad Henne under center for the first drive that I can remember this year? What were your thoughts?
Oh, I just thought, hopefully he can get a couple first downs and get him out of that, dig him out of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly wasn't expecting a whole lot, and um, but I also wasn't like, I didn't feel like, you know, hell was freezing over at that point, because I mean, Chad Henne knows the offense, and I still have a lot of faith in Andy Reid that at least he can keep things pretty stable. He's just not going to be someone who's going to be able to really push the issue. I mean, we kind of saw that when he came in during the Cleveland game in the divisional, when I think he tried to push a couple throws down the field, and he actually threw an interception near the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, as long as he didn't try to do too much, I thought, okay, maybe he can. I didn't think Pat was going to be out for the game, because just the way he was going, and um, it turns out really the trainers and the coaches wanted to make sure they did their diligence on his foot and not see anything, especially any type of bone injury that was in his foot
Mm-hmm.
that could have just gotten worse by leaving him out there. But I guess I there was no point where I actually thought that Chad Henne was going to finish the game. I was just hoping that Chad Henne could have just kept things hopefully right where they were.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you the same thing that I have in my column that's going to be landing on Thursday. I gotta be honest with you. I was a little more nervous about that, and the part that made me more nervous was that the Jags had already gone down the field. That field goal drive, you could just see a difference. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was injured, and so the specific thing that I put was it had to be on the table, and this definitely crossed my mind to some degree. They're on the 2-yard line, so what happens if they give the ball back on a 3 and out and they punt? and then the Jags have another short field, and Trevor Lawrence takes them down and they score again. Because in that situation, I think, of course, they do, and then you have defense. So then you have a fired up, you have a fired up Jags defense that was good. They had a decent season, and they've got some meanness to them and stuff like that. And so then you have to sit there with a somewhat decapitated Arrowhead crowd. You have momentum shift and stuff like that going on at the same time, and it's just, man, I had, retrospectively, it was some of the same feelings with the fumble that fell in Andrew Luck's hands in that 2013 season playoff game that I sat and watched in Indianapolis. And I remember looking at my wife after that and just saying, like, oh God, Kansas City has to close this game out. Andrew Luck's going to be a good player. We all know he's going to be a good player. And I do not want to sit and watch that highlight for the rest of my football watching life when they're talking about him on this trajectory and where that was his first move of being a special player. And so there was a little bit of that creeped into me. A couple plays later, I felt significantly better about it. But what we ended up getting was a 12-play, 98-yard, 6-minute and 5-second. What I called that is Chad Henne became a doctor. And so his dissertation was 98 yards, 6 minutes, 12 plays, and just completely curb stomped the ever living shit out of any kind of momentum shift that was going to happen. I mean, he took that game back. Chad Henne became a trivia answer in 2021 January on that 4th and 1 conversion. I think
which I love the fact they snuck in one of those to Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, but yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, and I mean this with complete sincerity. The Chiefs closed the deal and they won a Super Bowl. I mean, that play is one of, we'll say, 5 maximum storylines that you have to talk about, that you cannot tell the story of this season without. And Chad Henne goes from being a trivia answer to, a legend for the franchise, just based on that and that run. So that's how important I thought that was. I wasn't really trying to think too much about whether Mahomes was coming back. I knew he was going to try and force his way back onto the field, but whether or not they let him or not was going to be a different question. And I was mentally preparing for a game full of Chad Henne, which, like you said, I know that he's the backup. I know that he's a cerebral dude that studies. He prepares like he's going to start every week, and he knows the offense. But getting through that drive, it's just like, no, he's going to make it through this game, and we'll take this next week with whatever it gives us.
Well, so the feeling I had was not necessarily that I was concerned about the Jags game. And this goes back to the Browns game too, when he went out with the concussion or whatever it was. I wasn't thinking about that game. I was thinking, okay, I feel pretty confident that we can at least hold on in advance. I'm scared about the next game, and that's and now we're facing that reality, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But I never was really that scared of losing to the Jags. It was just more of I guess what was on the horizon, which either team that we would have ended up facing, it would have been very nervous going into with Chad Henne.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, to finish the rest of the second quarter, that drive went into the second quarter. The defense did their job again, held the Jags to a field goal, and Henne, knelt the ball and got us out with 17-10 lead to go into halftime. And then the second half was 10 points from both teams, and it was a Mahomes clearly adjusting, the Jags throwing everything they possibly could. And I mean, for me, it really just came down to 2 plays, and it was the 2 turnovers. The Jags were a red hot team coming in. Doug Peterson, their coach, has multiple pages from any Andy Reid offensive playbook. He had a good defense, and Trevor Lawrence is an up and coming quarterback in the league. So, playoff football, and they made more plays, played the cleaner game.
Yeah, the third quarter it felt like both teams were trying to fill each other out. What's interesting is, I listened to a couple, Kansas City local opinions, and I've heard, I think Sam McDowell, the Kansas City Star, and then this was also said, might have been by either Eric Eager or Jeff Chadita said that they thought that the play calling by the Jags was just really suspect in terms of the fact that they were throwing a lot of balls, at or behind the line of scrimmage, which the Chiefs were just blowing up. And the play calling of Todd Peterson, they were calling into question, like, what, just in terms of, he kind of didn't have a good quarter, and the Chiefs ended up going, tacking another field goal on, make it 20-10 before the end of the quarter. But that was an opinion I heard from a couple guys that that the play calling could have been better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, but it game ended the way that I think we both expected it to going into this. I'd say that's the game that we should have gotten. And now we're gonna get what has seemed like, to me, I think, an inevitability for a while. I know that we were a little on at different wavelengths on whether the Bengals or the Bills would get through that game. I know that you were heavily bullish on the Bills. In fact, I think you picked them to win the Super Bowl, right?
I did.
Yep. And not here to criticize that. I completely understand why you did. A lot of people made that pick. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that game. Full disclosure, I was not watching that game. I was out at the Chichen Itza Mayan pyramid when that game was being played,
which is really cool. I've been to that too.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, that was awesome. And actually, quick story. So the tour guide that we had was a Chiefs fan, and he made a comment about the hat that I was wearing, and then he pulled out a Chiefs water bottle. I'm like, oh, so you're really a Chiefs fan?
Nice.
But my favorite stop there was when they went to the stage with all the skulls carved on the side, and he talked about how the Warriors, the Mayans, totally violent culture, wasn't trying to hide any of that at all. They would conquer and plunder, and they would come back and bring all their prisoners, and they would decapitate them in front of everybody because, one, that's a blood sacrifice, and two, stick a bunch of heads out, and you might not have to fight the next battle to actually win it, which is another good thing as well. But it also had a carving of two warriors, and it was people with an eagle on their head and with a jaguar on their head, because there's jaguars around the Yucatan Peninsula. In fact, they told us to be careful if you're walking around, because sometimes they do come out. But it was quite a feat to kill either one of those animals, and the warriors that walked around with jaguars and eagles on their head were the run or die, type. And so I just thought that was fitting, that Patrick Mahomes played like a warrior through that battle, and literally, slaughtered a jaguar. And now we're going to go to Arrowhead, and he's going to have one of those things on his head. And I think we lopped the Bengals off at the knees this weekend. I really do. We had a long season with rookie defenders and things of that nature that we were just working through, and it seemed like it all built up and closed out at the end. I mean, they closed out a tough Texans team. They, like I said, put on a clinic against the Raiders. They had the 2 turnovers that sealed the game at the end of this one to move on. So, I mean, I think they're battle ready. I think they're in a different spot than they were that December 4th game in Cincinnati. And we're going to see a pocket presence from Patrick Mahomes that we haven't seen probably ever. At least not since the last time that he was banged up a little bit with his knee and stuff. And I mean, I think they're going to come in prepared. I can't help but notice how quiet most of the Chiefs players are being about this, and how loud the Bengals players are. So that's
better not hear from Justin Reed this time.
No, absolutely. Well, and that's it. He hasn't said a word. He hasn't said a word. Nobody's saying a word. No. It's just the only commentary that we're getting is Patrick Mahomes saying, my ankle's good and I'm playing. So for me, keys to victory are just keep the play that they've had going. I've been happy with what the defense is doing, and Patrick Mahomes just needs to take what he can give that the defense is giving him and Travis Kelce doesn't fumble a ball in that December 12th game or December 4th game ends differently anyway. So don't fumble again.
Yeah, I think the turnover battle is going to be actually I'm actually going to go so far as to say it's going to decide the game. I think whoever wins the turnover battle will win this game. And yeah, the team has gotten a lot better in the last month at not only protecting the ball but taking the ball away, and that's arguably that's why they beat the Jags, is because they took the ball away in their last two drives. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I didn't know. It was good to see Pat. So I saw some clip of Pat during the walkthrough today, and he was a full participant in practice. So that's going to be a big. It's going to be the big thing for me is how well is he going to play on that ankle, and yeah, is he going to be able to play within the pocket? Is the offensive line going to be able to, especially with Brown and Wiley, going to be able to give him time to throw? It's the Bengals still have done a pretty good job at times of putting together some looks for him that they showed a couple clips where he had to run around a good amount back in December just to find someone to throw to, which is something he's not going to be able to do, I don't think, in this game. So I'm hoping what they do is that I hope Isaiah Pacheco and Jet McKinnon have a day, because I think
there you go.
That's going to be really important in this game. And unlike last year, I think they can take advantage of the light boxes if the Bengals want to give that to them. And I'm still on the fence as far as whether or not I think the Chiefs will win this game or not. I know that they seem to be more battle tested, but the Bengals are also, a team that's on a 10-game winning streak right now, and they dismantled the Bills in Buffalo. I mean, I did watch that game, and they came out from the get-go and just really dominated Buffalo. It was on both sides of the ball. It was really more surprised by actually by how they carved up Buffalo's defense, because I always considered their defense to be good, but they're playing real well, and they're very confident, and obviously they know that they can come into Arrowhead and win. But seeing that it looks like our side is taking this game, not to say they don't take games seriously, but being tight-lipped means that they want to go out there and they want to talk with their play this weekend, not with Eli Apple saying Burrowhead on the sideline or whatever he said at the end of the Bills game. So that to me is encouraging. But for me right now, I'm going to take the Bengals in a close game right now, but we'll see how Pat comes out, and if he's looking good early on and he's able to play well on that ankle, then I will reserve the right to change my mind as the game goes on. I mean, it's really cool what it's going to take for me, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm taking the Chiefs in a close game, but if Chris Jones has this breakthrough playoff sack performance that it keeps seeming like he could do, I mean, I reserve the right to expect this to be an uglier game than anybody could possibly expect.
I hope so. Eric Eager is predicting an 18-point win for Kansas City. So
yeah, and see that would not surprise me. Let me rephrase that. I would be surprised, but I would not be shocked at all, because I mean, for that to happen, just take the game that happened last year, run the ball in the second half, and I mean, I can
take the field goal at the end of the first half. But yeah.
See, and I'm never going to be on board with that. I'll till the day I die just say, I've always said, when you have a drowning rat, step on its head. Don't put the lid on the bucket and hope for the best. Step on its head. And I was 100% on board with them going for that touchdown. I thought that was the right call then. I still think it was the right call. Whether they had the right play or not, I don't know. We could beat that up until Kingdom Come, but it's just one of those. We all knew, I think, in that moment that you have to put the Bengals away, and if they lose by a field goal and they kick the field goal before half time, we would have been up in riot situation. They lost the field goal. They lost by a field goal because they tried to go for a touchdown, and now we're in riot situation. I mean, that the only way to win that scenario was to score points and then actually win the game. I personally believe that a touchdown was what they needed to score there. But I mean, again, it's a what if game. The Bengals closed that game out. The Chiefs didn't. And, I think that they got a lesson out of that on how to close a game out. And I think that we really saw a lot of that execution in the game 12-4 against Cincinnati in Cincinnati against the Bengals. And that Kelsey fumble, which he never does, was the difference in that game. And so, got to play a clean game. Can't turn it over. Definitely won't argue with you on that point right there. So, but
take care of the ball.
Yeah.
I am really curious to see how the defense does this time around. I mean, Cincinnati definitely took advantage, definitely the middle of the field. I think I might have said last week about, some teams are really good at getting Nick Bolton in some really tough situations, and they seem to do a really good job on that last time around. So I'm curious to see what Spags is going to come up with for this weekend. And I do feel good about Spags coming in this weekend. I think he's learned some lessons.
I really do too.
I think he called a good game against the Jags. So I think that's going to go well.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, let's go Chiefs. I'm excited for this game, and at this point, I just wanted to get here. Decided to tailgate at Arrowhead. Come by the Chiefs diehards 12-man group. I'll be the feller with the spotted cow. So come by and
only in Wisconsin.
Yeah, all Wisconsin. Alrighty. So just real quick, who's your pick for the NFC?
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I know I predicted the 49ers when this was all said, when we started this, but after seeing what they did to the Giants, and I think Brock Purdy's about to turn into a pumpkin here pretty soon. So I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I don't have anything to add to that at all. I think we're thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a final take for us.
So I just saw a story where there was a little bit of smoke to this a few weeks ago, but apparently it's out there now that Jim Irsay wants to keep Jeff Saturday on as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. This was already something that was highly a lot of former head coaches. Bill Cowher was really infamous out there saying how much he was not down with this. What I'm also reading into, at least the story I saw on CBS, was that there's some internal struggle over this because this is seemingly a Jim Irsay thing and not necessarily a front office thing with the Colts. So that's, the crap show that is Jim Irsay continues on with that franchise, but it's just, I don't know what he's thinking. And the other thing that I found interesting is that Chris Ballard actually was quoted a few weeks ago when they were saying they were seriously considering keeping Jeff Saturday on because he had, I think, something along the lines of the quarterback position, he had some turnover in. And all I could think was, well, what was Frank Reich dealt? After Andrew Luck, he went through Jacoby Brissett, a washed Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, who really has never been good, and now 80-year-old Matt Ryan. Well, but I mean, come on. If you're going to come out and say, well, Jeff Saturday deserves another chance because of the instability at the quarterback position,
I'm saying come on with Carson Wentz has never been good. That is unfair. It's untrue. It didn't happen for a long time, but you can't say never.
Okay, fair enough. I did watch him tear his ACL against the Rams, so he was going to win the MVP if he hadn't done that. But
yeah,
it's I don't want to see Jeff Saturday hold on to that position, just because I know how much that really cuts to a lot of assistant coaches out there that are on
Mhm.
the sidelines in both college and the NFL. And
Yeah.
I hope Jim Irsay does not get his way on this one.
No, Jim Irsay, I mean, he went from somebody who I always thought was highly regarded. He seemed like a good dude, and then, next thing you know, he had that kind of public meltdown a little bit, and the whole alcohol situation. I don't remember the details. Don't really interested in rehashing that by any means. And then you have stuff like this, and I mean, Jeff Saturday seems like a knowledgeable enough guy, seems like a nice enough guy, but this is like the trust fund kid
Yeah,
situation, getting the senior VP job right out of college. It's like, come on, dude, you clearly don't know what you're doing. You clearly haven't worked your way into this. You haven't held a coaching job of any. I mean, he hasn't even been a high school head coach, has he?
I don't believe so.
I don't think
I
so.
think
I
he
don't
went
think
to the
so.
booth right after his playing
Exactly.
days.
And
Yeah.
so I mean, this is just I mean, Jim Irsay at best is devolving into Jerry Jones. And at worst, he's starting to get into McNair type of territory and stuff like that. I mean, this is
I would put him more in McNair territory than I would in Jerry Jones, to be honest with you.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
he's a couple of really crazy meddling, throw a cash grab in there and
Hmm.
some other kind of controversy where you're running a bad workplace, which I mean, at the very least, he's making the front office mad right now. And I mean, could be getting into some Dan Snyder type of stuff. I mean, that could be,
And I hope not, for a lot of people's benefit, but you
well,
never know.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I mean, you start to question what he's capable of, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, man. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, wasn't expecting you to go that direction.
I
So
I didn't either until about an hour ago. So
yeah, yeah. So my takeaway, the AFC Championship neutral game site. I mean, thankfully that's not on, and that Arrowhead's going to host as the number one seed. Atlanta's not needed. I have a ton of empathy for season ticket members, and a lot of this is just getting to know people throughout this year. I've never really known what the process looked like. I briefly looked at it at the beginning of this season. Didn't look at it that seriously because I live in Wisconsin and I was going to go to, maybe 3 games, something to that effect, which is what I ended up doing so far. And 2 of them were on the road. So I went to 1 game at Arrowhead. I didn't want to create a job for myself, having to move tickets every week for games that I knew I wasn't going to go to. Didn't want to be doing a lot of back and forth with like friends and family and stuff like that. Really, the only thing that I wanted was a cost control playoff, ticket package and stuff, so I could pick a game and go down to. But I've gotten to know a little bit more just talking to season ticket members for what this looks like. And that Atlanta thing, I mean, it didn't set well with me just based on the implication of what I thought the NFL could try to do with that. Because, I mean, the situation where you get used to neutral field playoff games and you're picking dome type of stadiums. I mean, that gives the NFL 3 marquee games a year to do, which sucks at the values that 1 seed beyond the bye. The second you add an 8th playoff team, there aren't any buys at all. So what are we doing here? And it kind of goes way further past parity than I'm comfortable with, right? So um that being said, the way this whole Atlanta thing happened, I kind of want to play a violin and hand a tear towel to the Joe Mixons of the world. That were like, "Oh, that's
oh my
disrespectful that they're
God.
selling tickets." Like, okay, first of all, what the hell do you think they're going to do? I mean, I understand we shouldn't be putting the cart before the horse. Play the game in front of you, but people in Atlanta are trying to schedule personnel, plan a football game. You have fans that might want to book a flight not 4 days out and stuff like that because nobody's.
Well, don't they start selling playoff tickets even before a team makes the playoffs
And they
sometimes?
and
I
they
mean,
do. And
yeah.
so the way I understand it is that as soon as a game becomes official as a season ticket member, your credit card on file gets charged.
Mhm.
And so in this scenario, if you're a season ticket holder and you want to go to the game regardless, you buy the tickets to Atlanta, they take your money. And the second that the Bills lose, they charge your card for whatever your seat allotment is that you agreed to for the playoffs. So you've essentially bought two of the highest price tickets you can possibly have for an AFC championship game. Okay, so then fast forward, the thing that I saw is Ticketmaster sent a thing. I got this as a screenshot from a season ticket holder. They sent a thing out saying your tickets are going to be canceled. It actually said the game is canceled. The AFC Championship game is canceled, is what it said. It's like, no, you're just not hosting it, dummies. And Atlanta's not hosting it. And the disclaimer said that you're going to be refunded and you might get your money back in 30 days. So if you're a 100 level season ticket holder and you have 4 seats, you've got somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 worth of tickets just sitting on your card, and it might come back after 30 days. And so the context that I want to make sure goes out, because running a small business, I have a credit card merchant account, and my wife has a deep level of experience in hospitality. So that's not 100% on Ticketmaster. That was a CYA statement, because you can sit there and I mean, I've done this situation before. I refund a card and I get an email 2 weeks later saying, "What are you doing, you bunch of crooks? Are you trying to collect interest on my money?" No, you have a small credit union and they give you your money back in your account when they feel like it. They're going to wait until every single level of everything settles. Because if you refund a credit card, it settles, overnight whenever it spools. If it's on a Friday, they might not do that until the next business day on Monday. And then after that, everything just goes up the chain, and it's whoever had their hand in the pool for the money. So it could take up to 30 days. And really all that was Ticketmaster saying, we're going to do what we do. We'll get to this when we get to this. We're not taking your phone call. So just know that if you call us, you're going to sit on hold for a long time, and you're going to turn around and be told, well, gosh, I don't really know what to do. You're going to have to call your bank. And by call your bank, what that means is call Visa and then every single other subsidiary they have, whether it's the Cities or the Bank of Americas or whatever. And you're putting people in this long drawn out pool that's mostly circumstantial, but you're taking zero responsibility for it and just acting like you're this benevolent force in the middle of everything. And so this just makes me question and feel about Ticketmaster in a way that I've always kind of felt, but never really thought of, similar to DirecTV. And my question is, what is it that you guys do in this situation? You don't print anything. You don't ship anything. You don't have hard tickets. You can't really get one anymore. I mean, I went to an NBA final game a couple years ago when the Bucks were playing, and I have a commemorative ticket that I bought from some third party sports collectors producer. This had nothing to do with anybody that I bought the tickets through, which was Ticketmaster. And so you're sitting here charging exorbitant fees to make digital transactions. And I suspect it's because you have just a ton of people sitting around doing nothing. And you're issuing Bitcoin for all rights and purposes through mobile apps that don't work very well, aren't built with a high level of infrastructure, and update all the time. And you have to change your passwords all the time. But security makes sense, so I won't even key in on that. But why are they necessary? Why do we need them? And how difficult would it be for somebody to come in and cut the NFL in heavier to charge 10% less fees, throw those guys out on the street? And then my next question is, who misses them? Because I don't think it's anybody.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting the ringer that Ticketmaster is being pulled through again. I mean, this isn't the first time that they've been challenged, but I mean, anyone who's a Taylor Swift fan right now is probably
Absolutely.
joining the
Absolutely.
protest right now. But
Absolutely.
yeah, them and I think Live Nation, who owns them right now, are being sued by several Taylor Swift fans. So
Well, in every single city. I mean, I'm sure you got the I'm sure you got the petition from the Paps Theater Group being a residence here in Shank Hall.
I probably do somewhere in my inbox, but yeah.
Okay, so here's the quick rundown. There's a new soccer stadium coming in for a minor league soccer team in Milwaukee. It's going to be downtown. They're putting a music venue in there. Live Nation is going to own the venue. And so the Pabst Theater organization, as in named after Pabst the beer that made Milwaukee famous, along with Blatz and
Captain
Schlitz.
Pabst. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're filing petitions. There's class action lawsuits to say we have better theaters than whatever it is you're going to put in here. And now you're sitting here trying to own the venue and the ticketing organization. I mean, in business, you call that owning the entire vertical. It's a smart way to try and control things. I understand it. You want to own the entire supply chain. It makes sense, but it just, it sucks when you don't get a good product, which is the overall experience. And I mean, I remember signing up for the thing to get tickets for Atlanta. There was supposed to be a pre-sale, but it all went through season ticket members. And again, I know a bunch of season ticket members. Full disclosure, I had tickets, planned and secured. If the game in Atlanta happened, I had a flight, which I still need to cancel, by the way. I had hotel rooms. I had all that stuff. I was ready to make the trip to Atlanta. I had all of that in line. But this was a season ticket member that was able to get in. I never got any kind of code. And that was because while they were in the middle of the season ticket thing, everybody leaked online that the codes for that you could go in and buy tickets for in the middle of the season ticket member thing were Chiefs Kingdom and Bills Mafia. And so to a degree, it's like, are you kidding? Those are what your pre-sale codes were. And second of all, I don't know how you could have messed this up more. And so they never even got through, the way I understand it, the season ticket people trying to get tickets for that game had it happened. I mean, it was no different than the Taylor Swift thing. And the thing with the Taylor Swift thing that I remember more than anything is her people sat there and said, this is going to be the biggest tour that you guys have dealt with in forever. Can you handle it? And they said they could. And it just goes back to the 90s when Garth Brooks was the biggest thing in the world and everything was on the phone. And there was a story every time he put a tour out about how somebody died because the phone lines chewed everything up and you couldn't make a 911 call because everybody was buying Garth Brooks tickets. Because there's one place to get them. And it's those clowns. So
yeah, and you had Pearl Jam trying to, essentially tour non-ticket master venues, and that was a big crap show in itself too. Trying to work around them. So hopefully something can be done with what's going on right now, because it's really, to say it's gotten old is an understatement.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason for what the fees are. I mean, it's just whatever's not going to get you a class action lawsuit that might go through. Which is, that's not going anywhere. But anyway, so that's it. And to season ticket members and High Cat Master, exactly what I'm talking to. That's my 100% agreement with you that organization sucks, and I can't wait till they eventually go away.
Hopefully, or at least they have some legitimate competition.
Well, exactly. And then they'll go away, because Anyway, all right. Well, go Chiefs, and hopefully this time next week we are having an even more jovial conversation than we are right now, and we're talking about what our media week plans are and stuff like that. So
I second that.
Yeah. All right. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.